It has been a super long journey for us Blazers fans. From the end of the Dame and CJ era to the current new look Blazers, there has been such big changes made to this roster over the last 5 years. So without further ado, let's get into the history of the Blazers rebuild. So this entire rebuild pretty much started when Dame had his abdomen injury completely flare up in the 2021-22 season around early January. And at this time, CJ was also out with an injury, so no Dame, no CJ. It was pretty much looking like GG's for the season.
And actually, before that even happened, the Blazers fired their GM, Neil Olshey, for some violation of the team's code of conduct. What? But anyways, the first domino would officially fall February 4th, 2022 with a Woj bomb. Norman Powell and Robert Covington traded to the Clippers from the Blazers. With Dame out for the season, with CJ being injured, it's looking like the Blazers are going to go into rebuild mode here. And as you can see here, the Blazers were actually winning games even without Dame and CJ for a lot of these games. Definitely no Dame. CJ would come back about halfway through this run, but very odd seeing the Blazers actually winning games. But even with the whack success that the Blazers were getting in late January, a CJ trade was looming and had been looming for almost a year at this point in the Blazers organization. And boom, February 8th, 2022, Trailblazers would trade CJ McCollum to the Pelicans. A deal was finally in place, and the Blazers would officially send out CJ, Larry Nance Jr., and Tony Snell. Shout out to you. And then they would get back Josh Hart, Satoransky, Alexander Walker, Didi Luzada, a first-round pick protected, which they never got, and then 2 future second-round picks. So the rebuild for the Blazers was looking like it was officially on. And with no Dame and no CJ, it was Anthony Simons, the young guard's time to step up for the Blazers, and he was actually cooking during this time. He showed us the flash in early January with Dame and CJ out, dropping 43 on 9 made threes. But after the dust had settled with all of the trades, he was dropping back-to-back, almost 430 bombs in a row, and he was making his case actually here for most improved player at the time. And yes, I have the receipts. There are articles of people saying who is challenging Anthony for the most improved award, and there's a Reddit post here talking about it as well, saying that what he's doing, this scoring jump, is actually pretty historical. But Anthony was actually cooking a little bit too much, and he would drop 38 points and 9 threes and then actually get shut down for the rest of the season as the Blazers were going into full tank mode heading into the draft. So real quick, before we talk about the draft, some key pieces of this season that real Blazers fans will remember is Josh Hart had a 44-point game, his career high to this day. Trendon Watford started cooking off a 2-way contract and actually got his contract converted and got Dennis Smith waived for him. And so this would lead the Blazers to basically benching any NBA player that knew how to play basketball. And so we were banished to these starting lineups of Chris Dunn, Keon Johnson, CJ Ellaby, Greg Brown III, the Dunker, and Drew Eubanks. If you were watching during these times, I mean, you understand it was rough. But the Blazers would end with a 27-55 record, 13th in the West, and look at that, an 11-game losing streak to end the season, securing themselves some better lottery odds. Let's go. And we would actually have the 6th best odds at the number 1 pick, and the draft was looking like Paolo Banchero, Jabari Smith Jr., Chet Holmgren. So there's a lot of options here in the top 3, but none of that would matter because the Blazers would fall to pick 7. Oh, and also that other first-round pick that I said we would never get, that is because of these 2 play-in games. We needed the Pelicans to not make the playoffs in order to get the pick, and they made the playoffs, so we didn't get the pick. Rip. But at pick 7, the Blazers would draft Shaedon Sharpe, a name that we all know today, and honestly, this was kind of a best available type of draft pick because at pick 7, he was kind of the unknown player in the draft, and he would actually never play a game at the school he committed to, which was Kentucky. He would play 0 games there, but out of high school, he was a heavily recruited guy, and so that's basically what the Blazers were going off of when they drafted him. And also in the late 2nd round, the Blazers would draft forward Jabari Walker, which at the time was kind of looked at as a whatever type of pick, but it actually meant a lot to the Blazers, and we'll get into that later in the video. And we'll actually get to a little bit of it right now, but the Summer League after the draft, the Blazers would actually win the Summer League with Trendon Watford winning Summer League MVP, as you guys remember him from the end of last season. But honestly, this was a huge moment for the Blazers, and it might not seem like a huge moment, but it was a lot of fun. I was watching every single Summer League game and just seeing the team cook and win, and without Shaedon Sharpe too. Shaedon Sharpe injured himself early in the Summer League, but the Blazers would win the Summer League chip. And then after that, the Blazers offseason moves would begin as they would sign Gary Payton II, coming off of a nice championship run with the Warriors. And we would also trade for Jerami Grant, only like a couple of draft picks for him, no players. So the Blazers have officially acquired Gary Payton and now Jerami Grant in the offseason, looking like kind of an eventful one here. And Damian Lillard was also coming off of his injury, and he was going to be fully healthy this next season. So the Blazers were kind of cooking up, trying to do a quick 1 year type of rebuild. And honestly, it looked like it might work on paper, adding Jerami Grant, a 3-and-D wing, along with Josh Hart, just that complete hustle guy that does everything on the court with Damian Lillard. Also, Anthony Simons coming back after having his insane explosive year. Also adding a rookie like Shaedon Sharpe, having a center like Yusuf Nurkic. It was looking like this team could maybe make a playoff push, as the first time they missed the playoffs in so many years was this last year, and Damian Lillard is a perennial playoff maker. And the team would actually be absolutely insane to start the season, beating teams like the Lakers, like the Nuggets, and starting 4-0, and I think ending around 11-4 or 10-4, being around the 2 or 1 seed to start the season was insane. But just as things started to look good for the Blazers, injuries would be all over the place as Damian Lillard would get hurt, Anthony Simons was out in GP 2 weeks, was basically just delaying his start to the season for a long time. But if you remember this photo, you'll remember that the vibes were at an all-time high despite the injuries to Dame and Anthony Simons, as Jerami Grant would hit a step-back game winner over the Suns, and everyone was lit, everyone was hype, and this was early in the season, and the Blazers were looking good. However, the Blazers fall-off was inevitable, as I don't know how well you guys can see this win-loss record thing, but the Blazers would quickly regress to 500, and then even at the bottom there, go below 500 by about 4 games. And the Blazers were trying to remain competitive in a rough Western Conference, but every single game, every single week, it was looking more and more rough on if the Blazers could even try to make a play-in push. And then right before the trade deadline, the Blazers would actually trade Josh Hart to the Knicks for Cam Reddish and a pick. Very weird. Obviously not a good trade for the Blazers at all. Great trade for the Knicks, but I guess something had to give here, and it was Josh Hart. And the Blazers would actually also get Matisse Thybulle in this deal, and then that first round pick, which would become Chris Murray. But so the Blazers making a little bit of a deadline deal here, trying to see if they can remain competitive, but giving up your starting small forward probably isn't the best option. But after the trade, the first game after, we would play the Lakers, and I remember this game vividly. Dame was going off. Matisse Thybulle's first game on the Blazers, he was cooking. Shaedon Sharpe had a great game, and all the way down even to Jabari Walker, like we talked about, getting 17 minutes in this game, and this was honestly a good vibe switch for the Blazers at the time, but it wouldn't matter in hindsight, as about a month later, the Blazers would go on a terrible streak of games, pretty much eliminating themselves from playoff and even play-in contention. And Damian Lillard would get shut down with a right calf tightness. I'm pretty sure he was healthy, but they just didn't want to play him anymore because the season was over. But that meant that Shaedon Sharpe, the rookie that we just drafted, the mystery man, got to have basically the keys to the team. And as you can see here, absolutely cooking, dropping a 30 bomb, multiple 27 bombs and 29 bombs, and oh my goodness, this guy is absolutely cooking. He's nice. I can't wait to see him develop. And yes, the Blazers would pull the plug on the season, like I said, shutting down Dame, shutting down Jerami Grant, trading for Josh Hart and everything, and they would end up as the 13 seed in the West, again ending their season early and kind of late game tanking for a pick. But this draft class was absolutely generational with Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, the Thompson twins. Oh my gosh, this draft class is hella deep, but can the Blazers win the lottery and get Wembanyama? Wait, the Blazers were one ping pong ball off of winning the lottery in 2023 and getting Victor Wembanyama and completely changing the entire trajectory of the franchise? Adam Silver, you didn't think that this would be a good idea? Wemby and Dame duo, they would have won multiple chips. But anyways, the Blazers would end up getting the 3rd overall pick in the draft, and they would draft Scoot Henderson, which was really odd. You have Damian Lillard, and you're drafting a point guard at that, who wears number 0. I don't know how this is going to work. But at the time, you do have to say Scoot Henderson was absolutely the correct pick for this team. He was a generational prospect, one of the best guard prospects of all time, and honestly, a lot of people thought
thought he should have gone number 2 to the Hornets, but they didn't draft him because of LaMelo Ball. But with Scoot Henderson falling to 3, you have to take him there. Also, something I'll never understand is we waived Trendon Watford just like randomly in the 2023 offseason after he had a really good end of his rookie season and a decent season last year. I'll never understand this one. But the Blazers would draft Chris Murray with that pick from the Knicks in the Josh Hart trade, and he's just the left-handed twin brother of Keegan Murray, and yeah, I mean, we're excited to have him. And in shock to absolutely nobody, Damian Lillard requests a trade after back-to-back years of missing the playoffs and drafting Scoot Henderson, which is basically his replacement. So yeah, Damian Lillard is going to be off the team next year. And bam, Damian Lillard traded to the Bucks, which is kind of funny because he demanded a trade to the Heat, but ends up going to the Bucks. And the Blazers get back dominating Toumani Camara, Drew Holiday, some picks, and then the Suns obviously get Nurkic. So the Blazers shipping out Dame and Nurkic in this deal. And then our GM, Joe Cronin, playing some NBA 2K here. He's going to flip Drew Holiday for Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and some picks, and basically gifting the Celtics that championship. And so yeah, Damian Lillard was traded and off the team, so the rebuild and the complete Blazers rebrand is officially on with Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe, basically the 2 key pieces of the team moving forward. And the Blazers obviously still had Anthony Simons, so kind of a guard influx here along with Malcolm Brogdon on the team. So a lot of new players, a lot of new guards coming to this team, and yeah, let's just say this next season's probably going to be a tank and development year. And almost halfway through the season, Shaedon Sharpe would actually have a lower abdominal strain, the same thing that Dame had a couple years ago, and so Shaedon Sharpe's going to be shut down for the rest of the season. And we all know about Scoot Henderson's rookie year struggles. He was struggling pretty much the entire year until the end of the year, which he started to cook. Obviously have an entire video on Scoot Henderson if you want the deep dive on him. Scoot Henderson files under my channel. But Toumani Camara was actually kind of showing some flashes of being an elite defender early on in this rookie season, and the league had not noticed yet, but Blazers fans were definitely noticing. And this year honestly was just absolutely terrible, ending last in the Western Conference, trying to maximize lottery odds for next year, even though the draft class of 2024 is being seen as notoriously garbage. And yeah, even though we were the last in the Western Conference, we ended up with the 7th overall pick because of some Adam Silver rigging. Obviously he needs to give the Spurs a higher pick, and he wanted to give the Hawks the first pick for some reason, but yeah, we're going to get the 7th pick after that entire year. It's not something you want to see. But actually, right before the draft, the Blazers would trade Malcolm Brogdon, the 14th overall pick, and some future picks for Deni Avdija. Wait a minute here. Obviously, most NBA fans who follow the sport pretty closely would know who Deni Avdija was even before their team would trade for him, and I did too, but one of the things that stood out to me, I remember being at work and getting a 40 bomb notification for Deni Avdija earlier in the season, and I was like, wait a minute, we just traded for him, let's go. And getting Malcolm Brogdon off of my team was honestly the thing that I liked the most at this trade at the time, was because he was taking so many possessions away from Scoot, trying to develop, and I just wanted him off the team. He was an old vet and we were tanking. It's like, bro, get off the team. And so the Blazers would end up on draft night drafting Donovan Clingan with the 7th overall pick, and he looked like probably the center of the future. Right now the center room was DeAndre Ayton and Robert Williams, and Rob Will was going through a bunch of injuries at the time, and obviously DeAndre Ayton is Ayton, so bringing in Clingan was definitely a good look for the team. And obviously the goal of the Blazers in the 24-25 season was probably going to be to tank again and try to get another top pick, and we had this iconic Scoot Henderson media day interview, which we talked about in the other video, and Deni Avdija coming into the team, and with Shaedon Sharpe starting the entire season with a left shoulder tear. Not a good start for the Blazers there, but Deni Avdija now has an opportunity to kind of get into that starting lineup and show what he can do, and the expectations for Deni were kind of mediocre. Nobody really knew how good he would be on this new team, but everyone was excited to see what he could do. And the Blazers starting off the season pretty trash, pretty garbage as expected. No one was really expecting the Blazers to be good this year. I'm pretty sure their win totals was around 30 games, obviously starting last in the West last season. So yeah, the Blazers kind of looking like another tank job is in place. And a couple months down the line, Shaedon Sharpe would actually be coming back from that left shoulder tear, so the team's young star that's coming back, or young, I guess, wannabe future star that we want him to be, is coming back from his injury. Let's go. Oh my gosh, randomly in late January, the Blazers are going on an insane hot streak. It looks like they're 10-1 in their last 11 games. Wait, this is no fluke, folks. Okay, we have a lot to talk about here. This is an NBA tweet. Portland's young core ignites red hot run. We are now 22-29 through 51 games, topping our last year's win total at this time, a 9-1 run. And during this 9-1 stretch, we have jumped from the 27th offense to the 9th best offense. Oh, what? Okay, but there's more to this tweet. Stars emerging. Denny Advia leading the team in total points and Scoot Henderson right behind him. Oh my gosh, having a season high 39 points. And Ayton is also cooking for some reason, but we don't care about that. On the other end, Toumani Camara cementing himself as one of the league's top young defenders, drawing more charges than almost anybody else in the league. And the Blazers have had the best defense in the NBA over this time period. And Denny Avdia was putting up numbers that we never thought we would see from this guy. I mean, oh my gosh, these are MVP level numbers here. And as you can see, even after the stretch that we went on in January and February, Denny still putting up 36, 34, high rebounds, high assists. He's proving that he's an all-around player. And Toumani Camara, Shaedon Sharpe, Donovan Clingan were also having their moments throughout this season. And believe it or not, the Blazers were trying to push for a play-in spot at the end of this season. And Blazers fans were hyped. We might make the play-in until this game, which I'm pretty sure Chauncey was illegally gambling against us this game. You cannot convince me otherwise. Denny had 37 points. Shaedon Sharpe was not going, but he was still playing good at the end of the game. Clingan had 18 boards, and he would sub all of them out at the end of the game, and we would lose. And so the Blazers would be eliminated from playoff contention, no longer able to make the play-in mathematically. And so it was back to the draft lottery, which at the end of the day isn't so bad. That's kind of what we were expecting, but that little play-in boost, that little 10-1 run in the middle of the season was a lot of fun to think about. And the Blazers, man, you can see 3 games away from that final play-in spot. They don't get it. They get the 12 seed, and they lose the tiebreaker of the 11-12 seed with the Suns. And then we also lost the tiebreaker of the coin flip to see who would get better lottery odds. And this 2025 draft class is stacked. Oh my gosh, stacked to the brim. And obviously the Blazers were showing some strides earlier in the last season, but there is still a lot of work to do with the 11th pick. Could we get something good? What? So we traded back to 16 from the 11th pick and drafted a dude sitting in the stands. He wasn't even in the draft. No, I'm just kidding. He wasn't in the draft. But still drafting a center after we already have Donovan Clingan and DeAndre Ayton still on the roster at this point. I mean, what are we doing? Oh, never mind. Ayton's gone, so I guess this is Clingan's team. Okay, quick little thing. This is 17 minutes into the video, but if you guys want to see my personal life, follow my Instagram. It's right here. I'll follow you back and just DM me, say you're from YouTube. But just real quick, back to the video. Okay, so the Blazers now have Yang Hansen on the roster. He was the China basketball MVP multiple times. He's young. I guess we'll see how this works out, but more expecting on Donovan Clingan to kind of take the reins here. Whoa, the Blazers trade Anthony Simons for Drew Holiday. The Blazers trade for Drew Holiday again. What the heck's going on? This was kind of going to be seen to happen and expected because Anthony, you know, this is a guard-heavy team with Shaedon and Scoot, and so Anthony's kind of maybe the odd guard out, and so now he's getting traded, and Drew Holiday is getting brought in. This is what we love to see as Blazers fans, man. He's pissed to be here. Yeah, sorry, buddy. Enjoy Portland. Wait, what? The Bucks waive Damian Lillard after the Achilles injury because he's not going to be playing the season, so they're going to waive him? They waive him? Wait, he's a free agent. Wait, come back to party. Oh my goodness. Look at this. They signed Blake Wesley, and the Blazers signed Damian Lillard to a multi-year contract. It's going to be a cheap contract. Dame is coming back to the team. No way. Damian Lillard. Oh my gosh. 9-time All-Star is back in party. And he's joining an all-defensive player in Toumani Camara, who just became an all-defensive second-team member last season, as well as a elite rim protector in Donovan Clingan, and an emerging all-star / star. We didn't know at the time he would be an all-star, but an emerging all-star in Denny Avdia. And he's teaming up with Drew Holiday, the dude that swept him in 2018 on the Pelicans. And so we're heading into media day, and this is looking like the roster. Obviously, sub out Yang Hansen for Robert Williams. I think this person was just being a little bit optimistic there. But honestly, this roster looks a lot better than it has the last couple of seasons. And in training camp, Scoot would tear his hamstring, which would sideline him for a majority of next season, which is nothing you want to see from your up-and-coming star point guard. But the Blazers in 2025-26 heading into this season have a new direction now with a star in Denny Avdia emerging. They're going to be playing around him. Drew Holiday's on the team. Shaedon Sharpe is back, and we are looking forward to this season. And look at this disrespectful win total given to the Blazers, 35.5. After last year, they won 36 games while tanking at the end of the season. So what is going on here with this win total? And after game 1 of the regular season, Chauncey Billups arrested. FBI gambling, was betting against the team, was in mafia poker games. Get this guy off my team. What the heck is going on? And so Tiago Splitter is now the acting head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers and will be for the rest of the season here. And the season starts and it's decent. It's a decent look, but then the injury bug hits the Blazers as per usual. And guys are missing every single night. We had injuries to Drew Holiday. We had injuries to Jeremy Grant. We had injuries to Shaedon. Scoot still not back. This was just an insane team. There's a point where, we didn't even have a point guard available on the roster. We had to pull up Caleb Love from a two-way. But meanwhile, Denny Avdia was balling like an absolute all-star and was selected as an all-star, averaging around 25, 7, and 7 at the time of his selection. He's playing like one of the best players in the league. And then Denny would go through some back injuries. He would leave a game after playing 1 minute. He would have some issues landing on it wrong. He tweaked it. Some people say this might have been from a previous car crash that he was in earlier in the season, but it wasn't looking good for him at this moment in time. However, he would heal up from this injury in return for the end of the season, as well as most of everybody else. Scoot was back, Shaedon, Drew Holiday's back, Jeremy's even back, and the Blazers are looking to make a postseason push at the end of this season. And it was the Blazers and the Clippers really fighting for that 8 seed late in the season, and every single one of you that's not a Blazers fan was picking the Clippers to beat the Blazers in both of those games, and the Blazers win both. And then after that, it was Blazers versus Suns in the 7-8 play-in game in Phoenix, and again, everyone was picking Phoenix to beat the Blazers. I don't think one analyst picked the Blazers, and the Blazers win again. And that win puts the Blazers in the playoffs for the first time since the start of the video when we were in 2021. Oh my goodness, the Blazers have officially done it. The dog days of the rebuild are over, and we are now in the light days. And yes, the Blazers lose in 5 to the Spurs, blow 2 leads, but we didn't get swept. We won a game, and this is just the beginning of this team. Subscribe, like, comment, subscribe, like, comment.